Hello, America, and hello, world. Good morning, Filipinas. Welcome to the Teacher's Voice. This show aims to give teachers the opportunity to talk on air about their unforgettable journeys and thrilling adventures, as well as share their splendid wisdom to inspire and to give hope to our listeners and to our viewers. This show is aired by the Philippine Las Vegas radio station from the heart of Las Vegas every Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and Sunday in the Philippines at 9 o'clock in the morning. This is one of your co-hosts, Teacher Marvin, welcoming you from New York City. And my other co-host is Teacher Pacita Ross, who is also from New York City.
Hello.
And one of our co-hosts, Teacher Judy, is not with us tonight, but we are sure that her heart and mind are with us all.
That's right.
So we pray. Please join me. Our Father in heaven, you are the creator of heaven and earth, and you are the giver of life. You are the bestower of gifts. You are our ultimate worship, and we thank you for another opportunity to be on this program that highlights the gifts and the joy of teaching. Bless us with your presence through the Holy Spirit, who shall continually inspire us to be your vessels of wisdom and your love. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Very nice. Yeah.
Basta po tayong lahat. Teacher Pasit, how are you?
Oh, I'm very well. Thank you. And just loving the weather and the slowness of things. Ganun talaga mga retired eh. No schedule, no boss.
That's awesome.
But I'd like to greet our teachers, and I'd like you to again know that we appreciate you, your dedication, your perseverance, and your love for your job molding our youth. For that, I want to thank you very much.
Of course. So, hello once again to all the teachers who are listening to us today and tonight, and to everyone else who will listen to this broadcast in the future. Welcome to the Teacher Voice, wherever you are in the world. This is our way of celebrating your journey, both inside and outside the classroom. We are all educators and molders and shapers of the future, and we celebrate this wonderful opportunity and calling for each one of us. We salute you for the marvelous things that you create in the classroom, the awesome results of your hard work and your dedication and your loving act of sacrifice and your selfless giving. And we consider you as the modern heroes of our youngsters. Maraming salamat and welcome again to the Teacher Voice. Teacher Pasit, we're ready?
Yes, I'm very, very honored to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, teachers, our guest for tonight, Dr. Reynaldo B. Garnace. Dr. Ray, I would like to call him that way, is a graduate of a bachelor's degree in education, majoring in English and a minor in music, a cum laude from the Holy Infant College in Leyte. He has 4 master's degrees. Wow. One in general science, another in language teaching, another one in administration and supervision, and special education. He also has earned a Doctor of Arts from the Leyte Normal University. Dr. Ray has been recognized and awarded with a few of them, the following: the Sangyao Outstanding Educator, the Philippine International Teaching Service in New York. He also has the award for an outstanding leadership and Rising Challenge for Excellence in Education from Washington, D.C., and also an Alumni Excellence Award by the Australian Embassy, and an Outstanding Practice and Performance in Enhancing the Effectiveness of Teachers by the UNESCO. Before joining the New York City Board of Education as a certified special education generalist, Dr. Ray was a director of the PSI or Philippine Science High School in Eastern Visayas and also a chief administrator of Leyte Normal University. Yeah, our guest tonight is surely very inspiring, and I'm sure he'll be able to motivate you, fellow teachers. And it's our pleasure. The Teacher Joyce would like to welcome Dr. Reynaldo B. Garnace. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Dr. Ray.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you for the generous introduction.
You're welcome.
I am ready.
You may greet your friends, your family, and whoever else you want to greet.
Maupay nga adlaw, maayong adlaw. Magandang araw po sa lahat, sa mga Pilipino na nasa Pilipinas ngayon at sa mga kapwa ko Pilipino na nasa iba't ibang sulok ng mundo, lalo na yung mga nandito sa Amerika at sa New York. So maraming salamat po na napaunlakan po upang ako ang naimbitahan niyo upang maging interviewee ngayon sa The Teacher's Voice. So thank you so much for being in the program. Opo.
We thank you for being here. Okay, I have a question, Dr. Ray. Oh, may I go ask the question at Teacher Mingoy? Okay, yeah. You know, our teachers will be waiting for the story, your story, to inspire them. Now, presently, you have done almost everything. You have achieved and accomplished quite a lot. But of course, we want to begin with how you started. Like, for example, your teaching experience. What subjects did you teach? What grade levels and where? Please tell us about your experience, your early experience.
All right. So maybe I'd like to give a quote first. It says, no presidents, no engineers, no lawyers, no doctors without teachers.
Exactly.
So I believe this is really the noblest profession. But if I may tell you, I never really wanted to be a teacher.
Oh.
I wanted to be any of those. All right. Because I came from a broken family. I was an orphan when I was young. So I had no way to pursue any of those dreams. So one of my aunts said that you can only enroll in college if you pursue education. So I was left with no choice but to pursue education because I was a working scholar then when I was in college. So ever since when I was young, I was a working student because I had no father, and then my mother left me at the age of 6. So that's the pangmalala mo story behind it. All right. So maybe you can ask me questions later on about it. But moving on to your question. So as I said, I had no choice but pursue education. So I was molded in Holy Infant College as a working scholar. So I became president in many organizations, and that was the start enticing me to pursue the realm of education. I said, I think this is it. This is for me. And so that was also the time that I started to connect with my lost father and my lost mother and all the rest of my siblings. All right. So to cap the story short, I started my teaching in the same school because the directors of the school said, "Are you going anywhere else?" I said, "No." Because when you are idealistic, when you're a fresh graduate, your heart always says, pay it forward, return it back.
That's true.
Kung sino ang nagbigay sa iyo ng education mo. So I immediately accepted the offer, although I was also offered to work in the government. I got two offers to work in the government, but I decided to teach in the private school where I finished my degree. So
Uh-huh.
I started my teaching there, and then I was supposed to major in music, right? But unfortunately, because pursuing music was very expensive, so I decided to shift to English. But Sister Pauline offered me a scholarship in voice, so I specialize in voice instead.
Oh,
Or
kakanta ka mamaya.
so yeah, I'm a singing teacher. We just had a concert last May 28th with
Oh, yeah,
Association
after.
of Filipino American Teachers.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say.
Okay.
Okay. So that's it. Then I was assigned to teach many subjects. I taught English, I taught values education, public speaking or speech, journalism. I taught even computer education. When
What
computer
level was
education,
that? College?
when I that was 1993. So immediately I was hard April, I finished March. So summer I started my work already. And then yeah, I was sent for a training for computer education, and that was the first offering of computer education, and I was asked to handle also the subject. So I stayed there for 4 years in my alma mater. In fact, I didn't want to transfer, but there came an opportunity. I was invited to apply at Philippine Science High School. So that was in 1997. And that was the first few years of offering of opening of Philippine Science High School in Eastern Visayas. And so I got in. I was the last of the pioneers who entered Pisay in Eastern Visayas. So there, I taught also almost the same subjects: English, public speaking, journalism. Yeah, and then I taught there for about 11 years. Then while studying, I was pursuing my degree. So ako ang taong walang pahinga. Kung si Joy ang babaeng walang pahinga, ako si Rain walang pahinga, because I was doing all things together. So
Uh-huh.
I was schooling, and then I got married in 1998 with my wife, who was also working in Philippine Science High School. So simultaneously, I was working on my career, and then I was schooling. I pursued the first course I pursued actually was management, because I wanted to be a manager. I still didn't want to be a teacher. So,
Oh,
but then I realized no, that was not for me. So I enrolled law because I wanted to be a lawyer. And then after one semester, I said, no, this is not for me. So I enrolled administration and supervision, and I was about to finish it, but I have a story to share if you will ask later, but I will not go into the detail about it. So, and Philippine Science High School required me to pursue vertical alignment of my degree, so I could also be promoted. So I decided to pursue language teaching. So
yeah.
I finished my language teaching, and then after that, I also pursued my doctorate in language teaching. Then, when you're in Philippine Science High School, you should also be adept in science. So I decided to enroll in general science and diploma in science teaching. So I would be more knowledgeable of the lessons I was to teach, because Philippine Science High School has different curricula.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, like, lessons in English are even geared towards science, like the dead stars, children with the ash-covered loam. So those types of stories, I should have background in science. So after that, because of my science degree, I was invited to be a visiting faculty in the Bahamas. That was in 2008. So I accepted it because it was a rare opportunity,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because actually my ultimate dream then was to come to the US, to teach in the US. So I thought it was an entry for me to come to the US. So I
Yeah.
accepted it, but I was not allowed to have an indefinite leave. So instead, even if I was already like, the position was like a supervisor in DepEd in
Uh-huh.
Pisay, even when I was a teacher, I decided to resign. So, and then I moved to the Bahamas, thinking that that would be my start, kick off for my career coming to the US. However, my kids were very young. They were 3, 5, 7, 9 years old. So I decided to go home because my kids wanted me home badly. So my dream coming to the US was halted. And I went home and then jobless. I was jobless then. And then when I went back to my alma mater, sa Holy Infant College, because I brought something for the sisters.
Pasalubong.
Oh, yeah. So they said, "So how are you? Where are you working?" I said, like, "Sister, I'm jobless." And so they said, "Okay, start today." Oh, I said, "Can I start tomorrow?" I went back. I worked again. I was asked to handle English, and then I was the head of students affairs. And then after a year, they needed a dean of college for education and liberal arts. So I became the dean because I was already a doctor then. So it was requirement by CHED that the dean should be a doctor. So that's it. And then after about 4 years, I was asked to submit my documents for Philippine Science High School as the director. And I was not really anticipating it. I was not prepared for it. But the Lord prepared my way by, enrolling in science, teaching in science, and then having 5 years supervisory experience. And then that's it. Surprisingly, to make the story short, I was hard appointed as the director of Philippine Science High School for
How
6 years.
did how did your journey to the US begin? Remember, that was your
Yeah.
ultimate, but your
Yes.
dream too.
Then later on, maybe you can ask questions about my stay in Philippine Science High School. But I'm moving on to the next step, not to your question. I'm leading to that. It's a long story, really. 1 hour is not enough.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Okay. So after that, as director, we're supposed to have 2 terms. So 6 years plus 6 years. All
Wow.
right. Okay. But I had several challenges when I was in Pisay because there was Typhoon Yolanda in 2013, right? Okay, I was a director of the school, and maybe we can talk about it later if you have question about that. And then I thought after 2017, one of my students won in the Junior Breakthrough Challenge. She won $400,000, 250,000 for her scholarship in MIT, and 150 for the school and the mentor, which were able to set up a DNA molecular laboratory in the school. And I did a lot, I would say. Only if the walls can talk in Pisay EVC, or the stones can speak of me, maybe they'll speak of the efforts that I put in to make Pisay EVC what is it today. All right. So, and then I thought in 2018, I said, I've done so much and I think I have nothing to do more for Pisay EVC. So I decided not to renew my term
I see.
for the next
Okay.
term, because I got an offer to move to the university, and I thought it was a better opportunity for me for professional growth, and working with a new environment and the new challenges ahead of me. So I took it, even if it was a bit of a demotion of my salaries and
Okay.
benefit.
Okay.
I just took it. All right. So, and then I worked my way actually to applying as the president of the university. Okay, but unfortunately, I did not get it. How is it to be a president in a university? So I don't like to discuss much about it. Okay, so simultaneously, I was working on my bar also, because I finished also my, while I was the director, I pursued uh bachelor's in laws or Juris Doctor, and then I finished it, and then after that I pursued special education. In other words, my desire of coming to the US was just there actually. So I was just preparing myself. Okay. And then somebody told me that New York, the school, a school in New York
Hiring.
was in need of a
Yeah.
special education. And
Uh-huh.
so I had already the degree, I was prepared. So my name was given. And so I was asked for my resume, then I was interviewed. And then after the interview, I was offered the job. And then I was just told that I would have to go through the process of the New York City Department of Education. So I did go through everything. I was about to take the bar in November 9, but my flight to the US also was November 9. So I had to weigh things and I decided I have to come to the US because this has
Mm.
been my ultimate dream. Becoming a lawyer was my childhood dream, but being in the US was my ultimate dream. So I said like,
Mm.
okay,
Oh,
this is my ultimate dream. And now
wow.
I'm here.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Dr. Ray. I can say that you have a highly diversified educational and professional eligibility, and we are interested to know how does this highly diversified qualifications help you in unifying the different learning modalities and unifying the different environments in the teaching of these various subjects. You have English and music, and you have the general science, you have
Science.
language,
Yeah.
and so on. So we're interested to know, how does this help you unify the different modalities and learning environments?
Wow. That's a tough question from Miss Universe yan.
Mas
Okay.
kaya mo yan.
Okay, definitely this give me a wide array of options in terms of subjects that I'll be teaching, and it's very funny, right? Because when I started teaching in Holy Infant College, I handled different subjects. I already mentioned them. And then when I went to Pisay also, I handled a different subject and different clubs. I was in different clubs, but more into my specialization, right? Because to teach science, you should really be a content specialist,
Um,
right? So when I pursued now my master's in general science and my diploma in science teaching. So when I went to the Bahamas, I just realized that, wow, when you are a humanities teacher, you can really be a very effective science teacher because it's now a combination of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math with the humanities. So you put them all together. So maybe I will share with you some of my experiences teaching sciences in the Bahamas. For example, teaching biology, I would bring my kids to the field laboratory. So one time I asked permission from a principal that I would be bringing my kids to the beach. Our lesson was what's this? Ecosystem. All right. So I told them, okay, bring the materials that you're going to use for documentation. And then when we arrive at the beach, so I told them to transform this into an ecosystem. So they were divided into groups and they had to document everything. And then, yeah, so they enjoyed doing it. So they made ecosystem, they documented it, ready for the presentation in the class. And after one period, I said, all right, swim. So they swam and enjoyed the class. And then when we went back to our classroom, it was their time to present. So another experience was teaching physics, for example. So I did not teach the formula to them. We went out, we had a game. So I divided the class into two. One group was in the lower portion because our school was in the hilly area. And then the other group was in the hilly area. And then I asked them to measure the distance to travel going up and going down. So that's, distance, time, velocity. And that's the only time that they started to discover, oh, so this is the formula. So it's like of deductive method of
Yeah.
teaching. So that's one. And another one is when I taught chemistry, it was very difficult for them. They hated chemistry. And so I thought of letting them bring anything that has something to do with chemistry. So labels, bottles, anything that they could bring. And then when they brought them into the classroom, I asked them to present to the class what was the object and what was the importance of chemistry in that object. And then they had to synthesize that, oh, chemistry is life. So it's very significant. So then I asked them to develop experimentations according to their uh, likes, because the government, the Ministry of Education in the Bahamas would require them to submit laboratory experimentations, actual, the results of them, and they are rated for that. So that's what I did. So they made their own experimentations, 8 experimentations each. They came up with dye, soap, shampoo, wine, food, ice cream. So out of chemistry. And so they love chemistry. So it's really teaching real life situation and integrating humanities in it. And I also taught music there. So even if I really did not know how to handle it, but I was forced to teach it because my resume says that I'm a minor in music.
Minor music.
And all this, I guess, I learned even when I was in HIC, because I was exposed to training in Ateneo, for example, or and then my first dream then, because my mother was born of a Japanese soldier, so I'm a Japanese partially.
Yeah.
Ewan kung nakikita nyo sa mata ko na Japanese.
Yes, it is obvious.
So my dream was to go to Japan. And so when I was in Pisay, sometime in 2007, before I went to the Bahamas, I got across with the training in Japan. It was autonomy of learning. I think that was the light bulb for me when I attended the autonomy of learning, because it opened my doors about how to handle the kids. Because usually the teachers would devote about 90% of the time teaching the lesson, but in Japan, in the training that I attended on autonomy of learning, it should be like 90% engagement of the students and 10% involvement of the teacher in terms of facilitation.
Right.
So I think I mastered that. I got the mastery of doing it. The autonomy of learning. So in every lesson that I had when I was in Philippine Science High School, I would always use autonomy of learning. So I would leave it to the kids because they're very intelligent
Right.
kids. So and then they're the ones who will be doing it. So I would share you an experience also when I was a director. I went to the different classes. It's your role ambulating around, checking if classes are attended to, the teachers are there, not necessarily, catching them if they're absent.
Or
So
or
one
not.
time there was no teacher in math. So you know how you deal with scholars. I asked a student, why are you late? Sir, because I'm not early. Okay. And then another student, hey, where's your ID? Sir, it's not here. Okay.
From the mouth of babes.
Yeah, yeah. So I was used to it, right? So, and these are typically the type of students that we have here. So okay, so I said, what's your topic in math? Where's your teacher? He did not tell us. Okay, so what's your topic in math? Problem solving. Okay, 3 kids go to the board and write your problems. So 3 kids went to the board and developed their problems. And because they're scholars, they know what to write. Okay, so even if you don't give directions, they know already that it has something to do with the topic. All right. So after writing the problems, I was blown away of their problems because wow, I could not solve them. And so I said, okay, 3 students go to the board and solve the problems. So the kids solved the problems and they were able to do it. And then I would ask them, okay, both of you stand in front and discuss how you develop the problem and solve the problem. And so they were learning so much. Any questions about the discussion? And then we still had time. I said, okay, everyone, get 1/2 sheet of paper, write your problems on the paper. Okay. And so they wrote the problems and then exchange your paper, solve the problems. Okay, face your partner, discuss how you developed and solved the problem. And then did they learn? Yes,
Of
they learned
course.
much
Of
from that.
course. Yeah.
Instead of, teacher bringing the problems to the class, his or her own problems, and, letting the kids solve them without developing the critical thinking of the kids much, right? So the kids enjoyed. And another experience I had was integrated science. All right. So the same thing. Where's your teacher? Not here. What's your topic? Rocks. Okay, rocks. Okay, they're only grade 7 students. Can you imagine that? All right, divide the class into 3, do something about rocks. And after one period, because the IS class was 2-period class, so they went back. One group had a PowerPoint presentation about rocks. Another group has a miniature presentation about rocks. And then another group had a mock TV interview about rocks, like they're experts talking about rocks. Can you imagine grade 7?
Mhm.
I was so impressed of how they did it. I was just at the back, and then I was asking them, all right, what is the importance of rocks in our lives? And then what will happen to us if we abuse the use of rocks? So just like that. And I had a meeting with the faculty and stuff, and I was questioned. In my 20 years of teaching, this is the first time that there's a director who went to my class to take over.
Mhm.
Because you were late and not there.
And then I said, you know what I said? Oh, okay. I thought you're going to thank me because in your absence, I was in your class.
Mhm. Oh,
Okay, so
that's
these
great.
are a few of my experiences of
Mhm.
integrating that. And now that I am here in New York, I feel like the work for me becomes easier, maybe because of my 30 years experience back home. So I know very well how to handle these kids. Because I'm a father myself, I have 4 kids. So that's why they're asking me, why do you have a lot of patience for us? I'm a father myself, so I understand your individual differences, the accommodation of the kids. And maybe I'm also a master of autonomy of learning. So they're on their own pace, right? So this is how it goes here. So kids are on their own pace. So, and then you have to attend to them in terms of accommodation, scaffolding of the lesson. And then we're doing also station learning or learning station. So we group the kids, which part they're in. And then it's just more of 5 to 10% facilitation
Yes.
for me as a teacher. And the book of my work is really to attend to the
Uh,
kids individually based on their needs. So I hope I'm able to answer your question with a
Of
very long
course,
answer.
of course, of course.
I just have one
Very nice.
comment. In the Philippines, there is iniquity in the quality of education. Students at science high schools are, learning much more, and the teachers there are much more or better trained than, sorry, regular teachers in regular classrooms. I wish that someday soon our schools will be all like a Philippine Science High School. I really, really wish. Okay, I am your turn, Teacher Marvin.
Maybe I can give a comment on that. I guess we're heading there because the secretary of DepEd actually is sitting as a member of the board of Philippine Science High School System, and we are sharing our resources
Mhm.
to DepEd, and we are also
Mhm.
having outreach programs to
Yeah.
DepEd. So these graduates in elementary are coming to us, and I think that's already a big opportunity. But then later on, we also, share whatever we have to the
Yeah.
DepEd.
But our big problems are lack of classrooms, lack of
Right.
resources, and large and huge classes. Teachers cannot function very well when, or in those situations. Thank you,
Mhm.
Right. Opo.
Yeah,
Teacher Marvin.
and of course, I should add the bureaucracy that is in
Ouch,
in the
that's a bigger
system.
one, a
But
bigger one.
anyway, I have a question for Dr. Ray. One of your publications is on the anthology of Asian and African literature. Oh, well, other than the global English for Filipinos as your focus of research, as I am very interested with your publication on the anthology of these literature, I'm also sure that our listeners are equally interested to know
Mhm.
what are the significant findings, the observations, or considerations that you were able to gather from these anthologies. Can you please share with us?
Okay, so actually, it's more of when we speak of anthology, it's more of a compilation of resources from the different parts of African and Asian literature. So,
Mm,
why was I was able to come up with the book because Philippine Science High School has really a distinct curriculum. So our resources come from different books, different materials. As a teacher, it was very difficult for me to look for the materials that I had to use in my class. So since I was using autonomy of learning, because before I was the one lecturing, and then the kids got bored listening to me, and so
Yeah. Mhm.
okay, I had, if I would share to you my experience when I was a new teacher in Philippine Science High School, Sir Marvin, you can relate to this because
Exactly.
the director told me, Ray, your rating is 1.73, almost 1.75. I was a new teacher. Our cutoff is 1.75. So if you will not do good next semester, we might not rehire you.
Mm.
Be- because that time I was not yet using autonomy of learning. So I was like preparing so hard, over preparing for the
Yeah.
kids. And
Uh-huh.
the kids were not excited about my lesson because
Right.
that's not what they wanted. They were scholars. And so what I did, I taught them lesson planning.
You
And I gave them specific assignments, what to deliver in the class. And so they enjoyed it because they had games, they had different ways of doing the activities for the class. And my role was just to facilitate learning. So since they were assigned specific topics for African and Asian literature, so they were collecting the materials that they had to use. In the
Mhm.
last 4 years that I was teaching it, I gathered everything. I gathered all the materials. And then I asked my students to help me compile
Mhm.
everything. And
Mhm.
so I made my own analysis based also on the outputs of the students. So it's like a conglomeration of everything, right? For the last 4 years that I gathered. And then I asked the students also to draw the pictures that I would use in the books. It's
Mhm.
like really a combination of all the efforts of the students. And then I also place there the strategies that the teacher would use in teaching a particular lesson in the African and Asian literature because I was already attending training. So I was integrating everything into that book and it became very valuable material
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
class. So the next batch of students, they would just get the book and we would go through the book without, looking for the materials anywhere and everywhere. So yeah, it's more of a compilation of everything. So the format was like introduction of that country, and then it's my own introduction. So I wrote it myself, and then presentation now of the literary pieces. It would start with motivation, how the literary piece should be presented, and then how the piece should be discussed, what
Mhm.
type of strategies, pedagogies that would be used to discuss it, and what should be the enrichment activities that would be done. Even the type of test that would follow is embedded in that book. So
Wow.
that's how I organize it.
That's
Yeah.
very nice. Yep, yep. At uh, at Philippine Science High School system, that's always possible to do with the richness of the materials and
Yeah. Mhm.
student work as well. And I'm so glad to know. Very, very inspiring indeed, Dr. Ray.
Opo. That's what I did. Yeah.
Great. Teacher Pasit, do you have another question?
Yes. You know what? Actually, our highest aim in the teacher voice is to inspire our teacher listeners.
Mhm.
Now, like I said a while ago, you have accomplished so much.
Mhm.
You had gone onto your upskilling of your, especially your academics. Now, putting aside the financial aspects of going to of doing a master's, or going higher in your educational background, what advice would you have to our teachers? Kasi alam ko marami rin sa kanila gusto rin mag-aral, mag-ano, but maybe kulang lang sila ng time management, and set aside natin yung finances, ano? What advice do you think you have for the teachers para naman sila maka-upskill and, go, up the ladder?
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. I don't even realize that, I did all those in the whole span of my life. So sometimes
Yeah.
my students would ask me, what? Because sometimes like random, they would ask me, so I've heard you're a doctor. How did you do that? Something like that. So I said like, I don't know. I can't also explain how I did it, but I just never stopped schooling. So
Mm.
after finishing my bachelor's degree, I enrolled the next degree, the next degree, and
Why?
this,
Why? Can you tell us why you just couldn't stop? Why?
there is no saturation of knowledge, and there
Mm-hmm.
is a quest for information. It's like education is an ongoing process. You don't stop after
Right. Yeah.
acquiring this. That is number one reason. Second reason is I was just preparing my resume,
Or
whatever
something.
may come, because I was not really sure if I would end up a teacher or an administrator or whatever. That's why I even enrolled law, because I would still want to become a lawyer. So when you have just dreams and you just want to pursue any of those, and then later on you just realize that you've not wasted the efforts that you put in, because you're earning from it. So every step of the way, I just realized, oh, I'm using the education that I gained, because when I went to Leyte Normal University, for example, so every time there was no teacher handling special education, they would ask me to handle it. Research, they would ask me to handle it. Philippine legislation and management, so I would handle it. Language learning, language teaching. So, like, because of the varied degrees that I had, so I was using all those. So I did everything simultaneously. So I was pursuing my education, my degrees. I was also leveling up in my career, because they go together. Everything goes together if you are preparing yourself. So that's why, because of my preparation, academic preparation, so I was able to rise in the academe.
Yeah.
And well, I did not also set aside my family, so I
So
had to.
actually, it's just that you must have the dream.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Dream. Kailangan, hindi lang yung be content. Of course, there's nothing wrong with being a regular teacher. Nothing is wrong about that. Pero you have to have a dream if you want to go, you know, be a better teacher.
Right. Yeah. And I also realized maybe that because of the life that I went through, that it's always like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
struggle, and we've been through a lot of challenges. So whatever stumbling block that may come our way, it's easier to surmount it because you've gone through it. So
Mhm.
I just have to continue.
You actually became stronger. You were honed by the
Mm.
early situation, family situation, and you just became stronger, I think.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
Oh, thank
think.
you very much. Very nice.
definitely.
Very nice.
Isip ko rin
Uh,
po.
Very nice. I guess we have one more question for the Dr. Ray, and then after this last question, we're gonna share our life's quote. Uh, Dr. Ray, earlier, Teacher Paset has enumerated all the awards and the recognitions that um, you received. And please inspire our listeners by sharing with us the very core of your pedagogy that has led you to these accolades and to these recognitions.
Recognitions, yeah.
Okay. So it's another difficult question, huh?
Which we know you can handle, of course.
Okay, the very message I'd like to give, especially when I was the leader of the school, was just remember my name, Ray. Um, I am resilient, I am empowering, and I am youthful.
Mhm.
So with these three characteristics, I am able to radiate that, character, that
Ah,
type of leadership, and that type of character when I go to the classroom also. So being resilient, being empowering with the students, and being youthful, being, even if I'm already in my golden years, I still behave like I'm with them.
Yeah.
I could understand them. So the best pedagogy that I use actually is what I have been mentioning, is the autonomy of
okay.
learning. Because when you give autonomy to everyone, life becomes easier for you because it's liberation, it's giving freedom to the kids when they speak, when they raise something to you. So I already have a lot of experiences here dealing with kids, which we don't have time anymore to talk about it. But because of this autonomy of learning that I am practicing, I am able to conquer them. I'm able to, be with them, to let them realize that we can go together. In fact, one inspiring message maybe or experience I have had was when one of my kids approached me and said, "Dr. Ray, can I have sticky notes?" I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I have index card. Can I have one?" And then she wrote there, "Dear Dr. Ray, we appreciate everything that you do. Love, period 3." So it's like the whole class. And then she drew a heart there and she said besos. So, and this kind of student was like, she would not really come to class. She would not submit her work. And when you talk to her, it's hard to deal with her, but that's what she did. I mean, like, oh, that means you have an impact to her. So I think that's the benefit, that's the privilege, that's the inspiration that we get as teachers. I hope I'm able to answer that.
Well, very well, very well. Of course, which we can see right away that there is a depth, the insights that you're bringing to the program for our teachers and listeners to glean from. At the same time, there's really is that clarity, the clarity of the actions and all the things that you have shared. They're all actionable and they're actually replicable. That everyone can learn from that, and then they can easily try that and see. After all, there will be a time when they will see and meet Dr. Ray in the future. They would be able to shake hands with you and say, like, I tried what you tried. We are on the same boat, and we learned together, and we were able to gain the success together. And so, very, very wonderful experience that we had in this time with you, Dr. Ray.
Yeah,
Thank you,
pwedeng mangopya sa kanya, no? Yung kanyang
course.
Sure. That's open for everyone.
And that is just like a micro conference instead of attending a full conference or teachers conference with a 1 hour of our interview and talk with Dr. Ray. Our listeners can already gather a lot of insights and everything, a lot of things that they can do in the classroom. Thank you very much, Dr. Ray. Okay, so now we have come to the time when we are going to share our life quote.
All right.
I'm going to start, and after me, Teacher Pacit will share her life quote, and we give the time for Dr. Ray to share his life quote, and then also his
last words
message to our listeners. Okay, for me, my life quote, both as a person and as a teacher, is this: proper education is the education of the heart. The education of the heart is best achieved when we educators embrace the heart of God. But when we have the heart of God, we can love even the unlovable among our students. Thank you very much.
Okay, and as for me, before we close, thank you, Dr. Ray, for accepting our invitation to come on board with us and inspire our teachers. Thank you. And I would like to the usual quote I make, from Aristotle. He says, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all.
Amen. Of course, which are related to us, to mind, always, Teacher Pacit. Thank you very much for the affirmation of our quotes. Dr. Ray, it's your turn to share your life quote.
It's not my quote yet, but I learned this when I was in college. the heart of education is the education of the
The
heart.
heart.
So
Yeah.
I'd like to wrap up both your quotes.
Of
All
course.
right. So maybe this will be my closing message. As you said earlier, I'm gonna sing a portion, just a portion of a song,
Oh,
which I
okay.
sang during the awarding ceremony in NASA, California, when my student won the Breakthrough Junior Challenge. So
Oh, yeah, yeah. The
I
400.
sang just a few lines. If you don't mind, I'll share it with you.
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
we don't
All
mind.
right.
Go ahead,
All
doctor.
right. This is my quest to follow the star, to reach the unreachable star.
Beautiful. The impossible dream is no
Of
longer
course.
impossible.
Of
Guys, the
course.
impossible dream. I love that story of Don Quixote, the man of La Mancha. So,
Right. Uh-huh.
okay.
All right.
And for my quote, actually, it's a popular quote. It says, and I quote, "Destiny is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice.
Mm.
It's not a thing to be waited for, but it's a thing to be achieved."
Awesome. Awesome.
Maraming salamat
Thank
po.
you. Very good. Very
Maraming
nice.
salamat. A million thanks to you, Dr. Ray, not only for bringing in your voice of pedagogy in our program, but as well as your wonderful singing
Singing
voice
voice.
as well.
Thank
You
you.
know,
Salamat.
we are expecting more opportunities to be talking to you, collaborating with you in the near future,
Yeah, that's true.
and
I'd
we
be glad.
are
I'd be glad.
thankful for your life as a teacher. Thank you also, Teacher Pasit, for
Thank
joining
you.
me, and
Welcome.
for the Teacher Voice for providing this opportunity for us to get inspiration from our teachers, and also the opportunity to inspire teachers as well.
Thank you, PHLV.
Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat po.
Okay, till we
Bye-bye
see you
now.
again. Thank you again,
Bye.
Dr. Ray. Thank you,
Salamat po.
Teacher Pasit. Bye-bye now.
Bye.